Welcome into episode 6 of Ramie and Drew. I am Ramie Makloff. That's Drew Flaggy. A couple of Milwaukee comedians talking sports and whatever other bullshit comes to mind. And Drew, before we get into any of the sports or other bullshit, for those of you watching us on YouTube, they know it. For those of you listening on Spotify, I will tell them you're rocking an interesting look today, my friend. You got you're a bandana guy. You're a bandana guy today. I don't know that I've ever seen this look from Drew Flaggy of the bandana headband. And
you absolutely.
I don't think I have. Have I? Where have I seen this?
The Bucks were in the playoffs the last couple of years. I wear it. It's the playoff bandana, dude. We're in the Prunty era right now. I'm celebrating.
What? Wait.
We're 1,000% winning percentage in the Joe Prunty era.
What the fuck does that have to do with your bandana headband? What are you?
I'm fired up.
What are you?
I'm pumped.
And when you get fired up, you start dressing like the Heartbreak Kid, Shawn Michaels. What the fuck? What does that even have to do with the bandana?
He was black and pink, dude. This is. I'm telling you, like after last night's game, dude, I'm fired up on the Joe Prunty era. I love Prunty, dude. Anything's possible. I could have had ice cream for breakfast in the Prunty era. I had kinds of soup for dinner tonight. One meal, 2 soups. Prunty era, dude.
I gotta know
what were my parlays last night in the.
I saw that. Yeah. You sent me the screenshot of that. That was impressive. I have to say, that was impressive. What were the 2 soups that you had tonight?
Spicy chicken noodle, and also spicy sausage gumbo.
All right. What are we, Campbell's? Progresso?
Yeah. Every time. Yeah. It's the best.
Okay. All right. Okay, good.
And you know what? No. 2 cans that I could have just doubled up. I was like, no, dude, I'm mixing it because I'm making adjustments. Like it's the fucking Prunty era, dude.
Wait. You didn't have the spicy chicken noodle. I don't know why I just spit all over my computer when I said spicy chicken noodle. Yeah. You didn't have the spicy chicken noodle and then the spicy gumbo. You threw them both in one pot?
No. I microwaved.
Oh, okay. All right. You didn't mix them. You had them separate, right?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Good.
Cans of soup, regardless. But I was like, you know what? Why only have one kind of soup today? Why not have 2 kinds of soup?
That makes sense.
Yeah.
None of this has anything to do with Joe Prunty. What the fuck are you talking about?
I'm just
your bandana, soups, dessert. None of this. What does any of this have to do with Joe Prunty?
I'm just happy for my basketball team.
So should they just remove the interim tag from Joe Prunty after what we saw last night in a 126-116 victory?
Listen, honestly, I think that his time as head coach is short-lived because I got some stats for you if we want to bring it up.
Go ahead.
Giannis, triple-double, 35 points, 18 rebounds, 10 assists, and 2 blocks. He fucking carried you, Prunty. He bailed you out.
Man, Giannis really bailed Joe Prunty out.
And then look at this stat, too. This is crazy. Damian Lillard, he was 8 of 21 from the floor, 10 of 11 free throws, 28 points, 1 rebound, 2 steals, 4 assists. Dude, Prunty, your time is limited as coach. Your top 2 players are going to play like they're making $50 million a year each. Okay? We can't just rely on this night in and night out. At some point, you got to coach. All right? Also, Chris Middleton, 24 points, 5 rebounds, 5 assists, and he also added 2 steals on 8 of 15 shooting from the floor.
Dude, if not for Chris Middleton.
The Bucks' big 3, as Gilbert Arenas would probably call it, the big 3, the talentless 3, as Gilbert Arenas probably would say, combined for 87 points, 24 rebounds, 19 assists, 4 steals, and 2 blocks. Dude, I'm telling you, if Prunty doesn't get his shit together and start coaching this team, we're not winning many games like that. You can't. I can't even do this with a straight face. I'm just Facebook right now. Like I'm.
Yeah, they really bailed him out last night, though. They really bailed Joe Prunty out by playing good basketball.
A wire to wire game. Did you know that? Like, did you see the thing of like the ring around the rosy? Like them.
I was just gonna bring this up. Yeah, but go ahead.
Oh, just everybody's all like bent out of shape about it. And look, that was like a big thing today where people are like, wow, the Bucks were really dancing on Adrian Griffin's grave. And I'm like, dude, I don't know. Like they actually looked like they gave a shit last night. Like
I don't think I'm not even now you're about to get into the game, and I saw something during the game. But the ring around the rosy thing, like my first reaction was what everyone's first reaction was. God, they really hated Adrian Griffin. Look how happy these guys are. But Worldwide Wob, Rob Perez, he's known as Worldwide Wob on Twitter. I don't know if you follow him. I think he's with ESPN. He used to be. I don't know.
I think, right?
I don't know if he still is.
On around the horn.
He's one of my favorite NBA follows. He's funny. He knows his shit. And he said that he said you can go back and watch this if you have the NBA season pass. You can go back and watch this on demand. He said they do something like that, some kind of choreographed dance before every game. So I'm guilty of it too. I think a lot of people read a little bit too much into the ring around the rosy thing that they did before the game started, and applying that to how they feel about Adrian Griffin being fired.
Yeah, I mean, I think at this point our fans are just never gonna be happy. Like the best thing is that the players seem to actually, I mean, it seems like it's none of the players that are against each other. They all seem like they like each other. Sure. But just like the way that they all played coming out last night, like I kept commenting on it to you when we were watching it on my phone, but like they looked like the weight was lifted off of their shoulders. Like something wasn't right, and it was clearly Griffin. Like, I don't know. Like the way that they came out, the first play of the game was a Dame Giannis pick and roll. And then the next one was Giannis, dives to the basket and he kicks out to Malik Beasley in the corner. It's like the ball moved just with like a purpose. Like I said last night, like the ball moved with like it had life to it. Like instead of just, okay, somebody passed the ball and then someone stood on the perimeter. That's not what happened. Like guys were moving. They looked like they were getting back on defense. Like, and it just looked like they made the game more simple.
Yeah. But I think a lot of that, Drew, is just, I mean, you have an interim coach, and I don't know how much he's, not to take anything away from your guy, Joe Prunty. I don't know how much he's necessarily coaching or installing anything or calling much. It is I think when you have an interim coach, and especially the first game under an interim coach, that it's a lot of go out there and play. And sometimes that does make things a little bit easier. Guys know what they're good at. They know what the guys around them are good at. They sort of know how to play when they're not trying to necessarily fit into something that someone is coaching, and they can just go out there and sort of freestyle it. You can't do that for a whole game, but I think that's some of what you saw yesterday in the difference in the style of play that we saw in that game.
Yeah, it just looked like they were out there playing a game of basketball in the most simple form, and it worked out because they're all just that talented. Like, I don't think anything more to read into it, and just the fact that they played well, wire to wire. That was it. They went up 6-2, and they never looked back. They won against a good team by 10 points, the team that blew them out by 40 last week. Like, it was good. And then we'll see how they respond again tomorrow to it. But
do you believe John Horst when he says, my opinion, my assessment, and ownership's assessment, and going through this wasn't an assessment that he lost the locker room, that there was dysfunction, that there were players that were jumping off the ship? That's just not our assessment, is what GM John Horst said. He basically said it was a performance thing, and that's all there is to it. He said that there wasn't any personality clash, there wasn't a losing of the locker room. It was just simply they weren't living up to expectations. And he also sort of admitted, Drew, what I said in the show we did right after the news of the firing, and then in our interview with Steve Sparky Pfeiffer of 1250 AM The Fan. You can go back and listen to that in episode 5 on Spotify and YouTube. That sort of this thing changed in terms of the expectations and the pressure when they made a trade for Damian Lillard. It changed the job and what came with it for Adrian Griffin. And that's not, like I said it that day, it's not fair. And the way they brought in Doc Rivers as sort of a consultant for a month before they made him coach, also a little bit not fair and a little bit slimy. But also, I mean, them watching their back and sort of giving themselves a contingency plan, an insurance plan. And that is smart. For as unfair and slimy as it might feel, it's kind of smart. And John Horst admitted that this thing changed when they traded for Dame Lillard.
Did you see the thing about our net rating with defense? Like I heard about this earlier today, that our net, like I forgot what basketball podcast it was I was listening to. It might have been like Locked On NBA or something. But our net rating, they said, was like conducive if you would just say that your team is going to have this net rating at the beginning of the season. This is how it's going to be. It would be like conducive to a 40-win team. Like that's how bad our net rating was. And it's
but that's
we were out talenting other teams.
That's what I was just gonna say. That's a net rating with a team that doesn't have Giannis and Dame and Chris. You know what I mean? Yeah. And I don't know if you've heard the Makloff theorem on other shows that I've had, Drew, and see if you can follow along with me. If you're new to my content here on the Ramie and Drew Show and didn't hear me at previous stops in sports radio, the theorem goes as follows, and it's the more points you score, the more points you can allow and still win a game. And the inverse is true, that the fewer points you allow, the fewer points you need to score to win a game. So yeah, their defense wasn't very good, but when you have Giannis, Dame, and Chris, you give yourself a little bit of cushion to not be as good on defense. Maybe not this bad, maybe not as bad as they've been to this point in the season, but they have some cushion because this is a team that should be able to put up points in bunches.
Yeah. Well, the other big thing too that
did you follow the theorem, by the way? Did it make sense? Okay.
A lot of points keeps the doctor away or something like that. Actually,
yeah, you got it.
Actually, a lot of I think what got the doc hired. The other stat that that I actually did circle, it was actually Brook Lopez and Bobby Portis combined for 15 rebounds. That was like last night was, I think, one of Brook Lopez's best rebounding games because he wasn't chasing guards around the perimeter. Like they actually played defense in the most simple way where it's the big guy goes where the shots are going to probably be. And it's like, don't go fucking chasing guards around. Like, it was really that simple. Like, it was like I said, it was an uncomplicated game of basketball.
Yeah, it did seem real simple. And it was a lot of man defense in that game yesterday. You didn't see a lot of zone. So I think it was, like I said before, just kind of go out there. Hey, that's your guy. That's your guy. You know what I mean? And keep things simple on both sides of the floor. And Brook Lopez, I mean, he's one of the best defensive big men in the league. So he knows when and where to drop and give a guy some help if he needs it when somebody's attacking the basket.
Yeah, or it's like, you get guys that can like at least try to push their man towards Brook and just let him stick a hand up. Like, I mean, Giannis had 2 blocks yesterday because he was just weak side help blocks. It was fine. Like there's nothing wrong with playing that way. And honestly, like for a coach, the best thing is just, put your guys in the best situation to succeed, play to their strengths. It's like, Damian Lillard's not a great defender. He had 2 steals yesterday. That's not for nothing. Like,
yeah,
he's fine. He's in the league. He's a body that people can't just go through. He's not a ghost. It's fine. Like, he's going to take up space too. And guys can come help him if they need to. If like he runs the corner.
And you knew you were giving up defense when you traded Drew Holiday for Dame Lillard. You knew you were giving up defense for one of the greatest scorers that this game has ever seen.
Yeah. You know how you always tell me to get off Facebook and not look at all the BS? First of all, I do it because I think it's it doesn't affect me. I think it's funny to see, like, am I reacting in a bad way? Or
the only good thing on Facebook is Ramie and Drew. That's
Yeah.
the only good thing on Facebook is Ramie and Drew clips.
Sure.
Yeah.
But also the craziest things like that, like I read, I'm like, okay, it's like there are times like I don't know. There was actually somebody who like said something about like he was shitting on somebody for being an idiot, and he said it doesn't take a genius to know this, and then he spelt the word genius wrong, and I'm like, if you and I commented on just in the Bucks thing, and I was like, I was like, bro, if you're gonna talk about how dumb somebody is, maybe spell genius right. Like, I'm not trying to be the grammar police out here, but for Christ's sake, like I get with somebody like Chris Middleton and they spell his name like Chris, like he's a stripper. Like we don't need, like I don't need that. Like Brooke, Brooke, like it's just another stripper name. Like
yeah, I did.
Spelled with a Y.
I missed the spelling on the captioning. That wasn't me misspelling the captioning on our show. Who was it? Dame Lillard and Drew Holiday. That it was misspelled.
I know.
I do go back and proof it, and I will admit I missed it on the proofing, but I wouldn't spell their names that way. I know better than that.
You're yeah, this actually wasn't an attack on you. This was literally that's old news, dude. That's like 2 episodes ago. This is current. I'm not. It's just funny to me when people are experts on the team and then they can't spell their fucking names right, especially when it's the last names. And it's like, okay, like I'll give you some slack maybe on the first name, but also it's not like Giannis hasn't been here for 11 years. Like, let's get it right. Brooks been
I'll be honest with you. And by the way, there was a short period of time after they won the championship in 2021 where I got the yips and I couldn't say Adetokounmpo. I couldn't. Like I for about, I don't know, 3-4 weeks, I legit could not say Adetokounmpo. The word would not come out of my mouth properly, and I don't know why, so I would just stick with Giannis. And to this day, like I'm pretty sure I know how to spell his last name, but I always do. If I type it out, I go and double check and make sure that I spelled his last name correctly. I'm not going to lie.
PO at the end, absolutely the part that gets everybody. It's the PO. But no, speaking of like insanity, like just Facebook level stupidity, right? Like while I was waiting for you to get this set up, I was listening to, I think it was Shannon Sharp and Gilbert Arenas' take on this.
I was watching. I didn't see Shannon Sharp. I saw Gilbert Arenas.
So Gilbert Arenas does a show with Shannon Sharp, right? I don't know, whatever it was. But Gilbert Arenas was talking about how bad of a coach Doc Rivers is. And like, he was talking about how like Giannis needs to prove something. And I'm like, I looked it up because I didn't want to make the joke that the number 0 that he used to wear was for how many rings he won in his career. But it was. Like, I mean,
Yeah, it is.
Gilbert Arenas has caught more gun charges than he's fucking had NBA Finals appearances. And you're going to sit here like, okay, I even said I'm not the biggest Doc Rivers guy. I've called him overrated a lot of times. He's definitely an upgrade from what we had because we at least have a veteran coach that knows how to be a player's coach kind of guy. Outside of that, I don't know what I'm hoping for the best. But for Christ's sakes, Gilbert Arenas, you fuck clown. Like, holy shit. Like, that guy was... And yeah, I have to start... I'm going to curse like a foreigner right now where I'm just like, you fuck ass. Like, what are you talking about? Like, Doc Rivers is crazy. Like Kendrick Perkins' insane delusions because the man has a ring.
He went off for like 5 minutes. And by the way, Brandon Jennings was just sitting there the whole time looking pissed off about what he was hearing from Gilbert Arenas about Doc Rivers. And some of it was valid, man. Some of it seemed like sour grapes or like he just had some kind of beef with Doc Rivers from their time in the league together with Doc as a coach and Gilbert Arenas as a player. But I mean, Drew, some of the stuff that he was saying about how many Hall of Fame players Doc has had relative to, the number of wins and titles that he has. Look, man, he comes with, by the way, is it official yet? I don't even know if it's official yet that Doc Rivers is the head coach. Okay. All right.
Well,
But he
yet, but
yeah, that's what I'm waiting for. Or at least a tweet saying "Welcome to the Bucks, Doc." I don't know that we've even seen that from the Bucks.
Woj tweeted something that it was like he was finalizing like a 3 or 4 year deal for like $40 million or something like that. Like,
good for him. But I mean, the concerns and the criticisms, they're valid. They're valid when it comes to Doc Rivers.
Yeah, but also it's like there was another thing because I was watching Inside the NBA, like, right before the Celtics and Heat game, and when they were all talking about, the record that, Adrian Griffin lost his job at like 30-13, it's like, you guys are clearly not watching this team because we will get steamrolled if you don't do something by the 76ers or by Boston. Like it was, the defense doesn't have to be, I don't think it has to be a top 10 team, but you got to creep within the top 15, 16 or something like that. Like, you can't be 28th like we were. We were getting worse the last couple. When they were like, we were, whatever it was, we were 27th or something over the last 10 games. But we were 28th the last 5. Like, it was trending in the bad direction.
Yeah, and then even though you and I... Oh, go ahead. No, go ahead.
The fact that Horst and all those guys were sitting in at practices going, they don't know what the fuck is going on with this team or what's being taught, and they didn't agree with it, so they made the move. Like, I don't know. I don't know what to tell these, like, what you could say to anybody else. But besides the fact is, like, yes, Adrian Griffin didn't get a fair shake to let a whole year go by. But also it's like, you'd be sitting here in April, you would lose to the 8 seed again or the 7 seed. You get a gentleman's sweep. And then we'd be sitting here going, well, how the fuck do you lose with Dame Lillard and Giannis? So it's like, at least at this point, you're going to sit there and say, Doc Rivers, there is no excuse for this.
Like, no, Doc has no excuses. Adrian Griffin could at least say that he's, first year head coach. I'm learning on the job over here. But yeah, I mean, I just completely lost whatever train of thought I had that I was going to interrupt you with. I completely forgot what it was. Son of a bitch. No, that's all right. But I was about to jump to Giannis's quotes and his reaction to the Doc Rivers firing. And Drew, this is long. And I want to read all of it. So you just jump in Drew Flaggy style whenever you want to comment on anything that Giannis had to say about the Griff firing. And even this, which, as I said, is long, is only a snippet of everything that he had to say after the win yesterday. And he started off by, go ahead. What?
It was an 18-minute interview. Like I said, I did listen to most of it. So as you're reading it, I already do have some thoughts on what he said.
Okay, so this is the thing I don't like about the NBA. It's a crazy business. Yesterday, Coach Griff was our head coach. Today, he's not. And we walk in there, and it's like he was never here. I don't like that about the NBA, and I speak openly about it, but I understand it. It's business. People being traded, people being waived. People have to change their whole lives just like that. Snaps his fingers. And out there, people creating a narrative that's not accurate. He said, but I'm a person that I really try not to fall into it. I refuse to fall into the bubble of, oh, this is accurate or, oh, this is not accurate, because always there's going to be something out there about me and about the team. I got to say, that's a pretty great policy to not like just tell your truth, whatever it is, you know what I mean? And not get into it with people about what is reality when it comes to your own life and your own story. You know what I mean? Because too many people, Aaron Rodgers, get into that, and there's no real way to get out of that looking good. You know what I mean? There's always going to be people who are going, yeah, okay, buddy. You know what I mean? And the more you go back and forth with them, I think the worse that it looks. So I honestly think that's a pretty good policy to have if you're in the public eye, of not getting into the whole back and just tell people like I said, your truth, and then move on with your life and let other people debate whether or not it is the truth. And I think Drew, he's getting into the fact, and he will in a second, but he's getting into the fact that I think anytime a coach is fired and there's a superstar on the team, there's speculation about the superstar's influence and say in that coach being fired, because that's just the NBA today, and that's sort of the way things work. That players have power if they want to exercise it.
Yeah. So I do think I like. Obviously, I like what everything Giannis has to say at this point. I was annoyed. Like, I'll even go back and say that I was annoyed with his failure thing that he said, his response to Eric Name's question and how pissed off he got. The longer this has gone on with him, the more I actually believe. Like, I do believe everything that comes out of his mouth is the honest to God truth to him. I don't think he's a crazy person. I don't think that he's a liar. I don't think he's. I think he does know that the organization runs through him, basically, because he is the best player on the team.
Mm-hmm.
So, hence me last week giving him an A+, and it's like, but that's everybody else makes him the MVP style player. Everybody else makes him the best version that he can be. So it's his job to also trickle that down and make sure that everyone else is the best version. Like last night, having a triple-double without a coach out there and spreading the ball around and getting 18 rebounds. Like, how many, other big men like that? How many games is Anthony Davis doing this shit for the rest of his team, for the Lakers? Because Darvin Ham's on the hot seat over there because everyone's pissed off that the Lakers aren't as good and they're old and slow too, just like they say about the Bucks. But like, the thing with the national media is they're going to paint Giannis in a horrible light until he goes to the Knicks or until he goes to Boston, because they have been so envious of what we have, but because it's coastal bias, and they're always going to paint Giannis. Oh, he's a whiner now. It's like, no, you know what he is? He's an American now. That's what. No, it's like, because like, he's not the humble 19-year-old from Greece anymore. He's a grown fucking man that he has heard his name get shopped around by that fat fuck Brian Windhorse. He's had his name shopped around by Stephen A. Smith. They've been trying to trade him to the Knicks. They've been trying to shop him to Miami. They've been trying to get him in Boston with Tatum. They've been trying to go and be like, they've been trying to sell him to Golden State to go pair up with Curry and shit like that. Like, they've been trying to pilfer Giannis out of here for nothing. They've been trying to give us guys like Kevon Looney for Giannis straight up. Like, that's not a goddamn problem. Like, they've been trying to do shit like this to the Bucks because we're a small market team and they don't like us over there. So that's fine. Talk about Giannis, say what you want to about Giannis, because you know what? If Giannis went, if we took fucking OG Anunoby, the guy you just got from the Raptors, if we traded Giannis for OG straight up, guess what, Julius Randle and all you Knicks fans? Giannis is the best player on your fucking team now.
Yeah, Giannis is the best player on every team in this league other than maybe Denver. Yeah. That's it.
Tom Thibodeau shuts his raspy voice up and you listen to Giannis, because if you don't like the way his goddamn Zoom freaks smell, your ass is out the door too then. You're going to be high-fiving Adrian Griffin in the goddamn unemployment line. So it's like, I do think that the players did know that this was coming, because no GMs are sitting in on practice the way apparently our guy was doing. No one's sitting there watching their team's practices when they're underachieving. So, just like Sparky said, the consulting thing, everyone was scratching their heads about consulting. Chuck was head. Chuck grew hair to lose hair. He was scratching his head so hard. Being like, that's a thing, a consultant? No, it's not. It's whatever. It was fine. They were supplanting him.
Yeah. Yeah, they wanted to get the next guy in the door and sort of ease him into the job.
You know why they're not having these talks over in Boston, besides the fact that they're in first place and they're playing decent basketball? Because Tatum isn't Giannis. Tatum's not a generational talent.
Yeah, there are higher expectations. No, you're right. I think that there are higher expectations on a Giannis, because he's a generational talent. Jason Tatum is a very, very good player.
I'll pick.
Go ahead.
I like too. Like, I like Domantas Sabonis. I like De'Aaron Fox. Neither of them are Giannis. Okay,
no.
You're not getting. You can get another. you can get another Sabonis. You know how you know? Because Kevin Love existed. Okay, these guys have been around. There has never been a Giannis outside of like Shaq, and Shaq couldn't pass worth a shit.
And he couldn't run like Giannis either, and didn't have his handles.
There-
So then Giannis gets into the rumors that of course started to flow right after the Adrian Griffin hiring. He says, hold on one sec. He says, "Oh, he did not have a good relationship with Griff." Says false. I love the guy. I invited him to my wedding. Says I talked with him. I was coached by him, and we did very, very, very well. 3 berries in a position like that. You have to understand that when somebody's being hired, at times the GM might come and ask, "What do you think about that? What do you think about this?" or whatever. And not just me, players, people that he trusts their advice. But at times, to make it seem like it's the players that are making this decision, and this guy got traded because he wanted him. But like, no, I have a job. My job is to be the best version that I can be and try to lead this team to win games. Like, that is what I get paid. I don't get paid to change people's lives and make people uncomfortable. I get paid to defend, block shots, and I try to stick to that as much as I can because I understand I don't like that aspect of it. And there's people that get paid a lot of money to make those decisions, and those decisions are hard. And I got to respect also John, because it's hard. It's not easy. But again, me personally, I don't want to be involved in that. I don't like that. That's what Giannis said about his input into both the hiring and the firing of Adrian Griffin. Drew, do you believe him? Do you think he's downplaying his level of power and say within the organization and the head coach?
I think he is downplaying it, but I also, like I said, I think he's being honest that maybe he doesn't like the business side of this. But also, I think he does understand that the organization, no matter what, is always going to ask his opinion for big decisions. And it's like, if Giannis said no, absolutely not, I'll bet you they wouldn't do it. Like, they're not going to hire a guy because if Giannis says no to something, they're not just going to do it anyways. They're going to try to reach a compromise or something somewhere along the lines, or try to find something similar that maybe is a better fit for him or something. But the main thing is you're keeping him happy because you want him to stay, because like I said, he is the generational talent. We will never have, I keep saying this to all of our friends. I think I said this the other day. We're never going to have this roster again. We're never going to have it. As a small, I'm enjoying this right now as a small market fan, that we have 2 top 75 players that are first ballot Hall of Famers on our team.
Yeah.
In their primes. Like, these aren't 2 washed up guys. This isn't like when we got Tony Kukoc, at the end of his career.
Drew, I can tell you as somebody who grew up as a Bulls fan in the 90s that, yeah, this might be the best roster that you ever see, that your team ever has in your lifetime. And that might sound crazy saying that right now, especially if you're somebody much younger than me, but I was much younger in the 90s when I was watching those Bulls teams do what they would do. And I probably would have said, "Come on, man, you're crazy. That's ridiculous. Come on, I have a whole lifetime of watching Bulls basketball ahead of me. Of course, they'll have a roster as good, if not better than this. But no, man, this shit doesn't come along that often. It just doesn't.
Even the other teams that we loved, like Andrew Bogut and Brandon Jennings, they weren't this. Ray Allen, Glenn Robinson, Tim Thomas, Sam Cassell, they weren't this either. Like, they were great, but they were very good teams. But first of all, we already got a guy who won us a championship, on one leg, by the way. That's another thing. He willed. He is the heart and soul of that franchise. So of course they're going to pick his brain too.
By the way, he also said that he wasn't. He said, "I was not involved in the hiring of Coach Griff." He said, "I talked with him the same way I talked with Coach Bud, but nobody said I was involved, in hiring Coach Bud because I was a kid." But of course, they asked, "What do you think about this guy?" I think he's a great guy. He looks like a good guy to me. What do you think about Coach Griff? Everybody, they're good people. But ultimately, I don't make that decision. I just try to stick to basketball. Everybody's great to Giannis. Everybody's just a great guy to Giannis. And he didn't have anything to say about who was going to be fired or hired.
And, there are people that you can absolutely love that are bad at their jobs. Everybody's got like
Sure.
the work friend, you know, like How I Met Your Mother, I think used to do this. Like they had the thing where there was the guy who's just the fantasy football guy in the office. He contributes nothing to the job, but he runs the fantasy league. And that's why he, and it's like, yeah, there are people that you're going to work with that are going to be bad at their jobs, but they might be nice people. Or they might not be the right fit for your job. Like they might not have the right skill set, or they might be in over their head on something. That's fine. And it's okay. Like the players don't have to resent a coach to not believe in the coach.
Yeah. And that's two points I wanted to make. Oh, I just remembered the one I wanted to make before. That's one of the 2 points that I want to make. One, like John Horst took exception to the notion that Adrian Griffin lost the locker room, like from a personality standpoint. And it is possible that guy, like along the lines of what you're saying, Drew, this is what reminded me of the point I meant to make earlier. Guys like you, they think you're a good enough guy, but from a basketball standpoint, you've lost them. And they don't believe in what you're doing, whether it's philosophically, whether it's strategically. They just don't believe in what you're doing. And the other part of it is, I don't know what level of influence Giannis had or has in the hiring and the firing of coaches. But no matter what it is, almost to any extent, I'm okay with it. Yeah. Because like you said, Drew, you got to keep that guy happy. There is nothing in the NBA that affects winning more than superstar players. Like in the NFL or Major League Baseball, if a guy gets a little bit too full of himself and wants a little bit too much control in the organization and is maybe a little bit more trouble than he's worth, you can get rid of that guy, and it's a lot easier to sustain the same level of success. In basketball, you make look at the dude. Oklahoma City is just now getting over Kevin Durant forcing his way out of a Thunder uniform. You know what I mean? Yeah. The Cavaliers have never recovered from Giannis or from LeBron forcing his way out of Cleveland till he forced his way back to Cleveland. You know what I mean? Like when a superstar leaves your organization, and don't let the contract trick you. Giannis can leave the Bucks anytime he wants with the way that the NBA operates today. Giannis can leave at any time. So whatever influence he has in the coaching decision, I am 100% okay with it. But it is also possible that while superstars do have a shitload of power in today's game and they can get coaches fired and hired, that he is just the type of guy. And I'm speaking as that type of guy, Drew. I've been asked about management positions and interviewed for management positions throughout my time in radio. And I don't want that I don't want to do that. I don't want to change people's lives by hiring and firing them. I want to go into some place and talk stupid shit into a microphone. And I don't want to have say in who's getting hired and who's getting fired. It's possible that Giannis sort of has that same personality trait.
I think that it's the organization literally putting the ball in his court and just being like, look, we're going to ask your opinion because it's one of those things where they value him so much and they have every right to. The whole city values that guy.
Yeah.
I mean, Jesus Christ, if he walked into a restaurant and said something about like, I don't like this item on the menu, you think that they would keep that item on the menu? Like, no, like, come on. Like he's the guy. Like so you're going to ask him, and he has to understand that, yes, they're going to ask you, because if they made a decision that absolutely annoyed you, or that it wasn't a good fit, or you didn't feel it was a good fit, they want you to speak up too. Like, it doesn't have to be as negative as people want to make it.
Right.
It doesn't have to be he's in control or he's holding the team hostage like Aaron Rodgers did. He doesn't have to do any of that. They just want your input. They want you to be happy. They want you to win a championship again. They want it to be as drama-free as possible.
Not to get into a whole Aaron Rodgers debate with you, but I was saying the same thing when when he went on that whole diatribe about why he had hard feelings with the Packers. Remember when he showed up to training camp and he just took out the fucking flamethrower and all his grievances with the Packers? And one of them was that he didn't feel like they listened to him or valued his opinion or his input in what they were doing. And you know what? Valid, dude. You know what I mean? I think anybody who's as good at their job as Aaron Rodgers is, or as Giannis is, might want to feel valued and might want to feel like their thoughts and their opinions are something that would be of interest to those who are making decisions, to at least factor in. You know what I mean? And I said then, like, even if you don't respect Aaron Rodgers' opinion and don't want his input, pretend you do. You know what I mean? Fucking lie to the dude and entertain the idea that, yeah, you do respect what he has to say, and just to keep the peace and keep him happy, because he's a franchise quarterback, and the same goes for NBA superstars. So if Giannis has a lot of say because he wants it, cool. If Giannis has very little say because that's the way he wants it, cool. Whatever level of power Giannis wants to have, cool. I'm totally fine with it.
Yeah. He like I said, he can have whatever the hell he wants to on that team, honestly, because there's going to be a day where he's not going to be here, and we're going to be just another team in the NBA.
Yeah.
And that'll be fine, because this is going to be a time to look back on and be like, this was fun.
Yeah.
And
it's not every year, Drew, that you have two all-star starters. How's that for a transition?
Oh, yeah.
In the NBA All-Star game, the aforementioned Giannis, of course. This is his eighth time. Is that what I'm reading correctly? Yeah, this is his eighth time as an All-Star. He'll be the captain of the Eastern Conference. Dame Lillard, it's his eighth time as an All-Star. He's also starting. He'll be at point guard. And I read this today, and it's one of those things where you go, huh? And then you think about it for a second, and it makes sense. It's his first time starting in the All-Star game, Drew.
Yeah, I literally just said that when I was talking over you. Yeah, it was. I knew that, though, but like also because I mean he was in the Western Conference, man. Like,
yeah, it was with Steph Curry.
Steph Curry over there.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense when you think about it. Like,
and honestly, a big thing right here. We'll just say it. Shout out to the Portland Trailblazer fans, because they absolutely rallied behind getting Dame as a starter.
Yep.
Because the Knicks fans were really pushing for Jalen Brunson, and Portland fans Dame was so loyal to that fan base and so grateful for everything they did for him in like Portland and all that stuff. And like that his whole life was there, that fan base still responded. And a lot of Portland fans, like, I mean, this is the positive side of social media. A lot of them tune into Bucks games because they want Dame to win this thing with Giannis.
Did you see the watches that they were giving away at the game the other night? The Dame time watches? That was a promotional giveaway.
Oh, that's awesome. I should get on eBay and see if I can get one of those.
They look pretty dope. But that's cool. That Dame gets his first start, and you got two starters. I don't think I think that'll probably be it, right? Chris Middleton hasn't played enough that he'll get a consideration for one of the bench spots.
We'll get one. I would think the outside chance of another Bucks player would be Brook, probably.
Brook. Yeah.
It would be Brook because of the blocks and everything. But honestly, the All-Star game is such a high-powered offense thing that, I mean, no one's playing hard-nosed defense in that game. So this is probably it. But this is pretty cool that we got two guys.
That is. I like it. And then just one more thing I wanted to touch on before we wrapped up here. And I told you this was possible. Was this in the trial run episode we did that never saw the light of day, or was this in an actual episode? It's already, we're 6 actual episodes in, and it's all blending together, and I have trouble remembering when we talked about what we talked about. But
gonna get fired?
Yeah, and you said you can't fire him, after you do what you did and you make the playoffs. And I went, not so fast. I think that it's still very possible that Joe Barry gets fired and is no longer the defensive coordinator of the Packers. And honestly, Drew, and I don't know Joe Barry, same as with Adrian Griffin, seems like a nice guy. I have nothing against him personally, but that Packers defense should have been better. I mean, at every level of their defense, there's a guy who you go, oh man, that guy. You know what I mean? They never lived up to that. They've used so many first round picks and early round picks on that side of the ball that they got to get better results from their defense.
Remember, I did bring up on the Sparky episode, do the Packers hire Adrian Griffin as a defensive minded coach? And the next morning, Joe Barry was fired after that episode. Because we can do a peek behind the curtain. We recorded both of those episodes on Tuesday.
Yes. Yeah. I think I was upfront about that when we were recording with Sparky.
So,
yeah,
the Sparky episode, because Joe Barry got fired Wednesday morning, I looked at my phone while I was at work and I was like, oh, did Drew Stajamis over here? Did I predict it? But then I kindly took to Facebook and I had a brilliant post where I said, all right, Brewers, your turn to fire somebody. So sorry, Ricky Weeks, you're getting fired.
But you know who's out there, Drew? Who's a defensive-minded coach, and I don't think he's getting a head coaching job. Bill Belichick, huh?
So he's gonna consult Matt LaFleur.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. That's exactly where I was going, and you beat me to it. Beat me to it.
Comic brain, dude.
But I did hear that he was avoiding major markets because he didn't want to deal. He didn't want to deal with the media and so many cameras and microphones in his face all the time. Dude, defensive coordinator in Green Bay? Like, you have to talk to the media once a week, and it's the Green Bay media compared to Boston. You know what I mean? That might be his dream job. Like, it's just fucking football. You know what I mean? You're the defensive coordinator of the Packers. It's just fucking football you're surrounded by 6 feet of snow and it's 2 degrees out. There's nothing fucking better to do. That might be the job for Bill Belichick to sort of ease his way out of the football world. As stupid as it sounds, and it's not going to happen. But it makes sense when you think about it. If he's just trying to fucking just be football guy and not have to deal with all the bullshit.
Yeah, if you it makes sense if you talk your way into it as much as you just
did. It is crazy when you think about it that Bill Belichick, maybe the GOAT of all coaches, 6 Super Bowl rings, didn't none of the teams decided they wanted to hire him. I forget who Atlanta went with today, but Chargers went with Jim Harbaugh. All the vacancies are filling up, and now Bill Belichick he's the odd man out as the music stops in the game of musical chairs.
He's the Doc Rivers of the NFL.
Huh? Yeah, he'll end up somewhere. He'll be consulting somewhere next year.
Definitely.
And then sliding into a head coaching position. I wouldn't be surprised at all. That will be it for episode 6, unless you have anything else that you wanted to add, Drew. No?
Nope,
You good?
Nothing else.
All right. Tomorrow on the show, we're going to try to do this every week. We're going to have some sports talk with one of our comedy friends, Gary Zedzikowski, a Milwaukee comedian. He'll join us on the show tomorrow. Huge Brewers fan. You got the Reese Hoskins signing. So we'll be getting into that. Also his thoughts on the whole Craig Counsell thing.
We'll talk some sports betting.
We'll talk some sports betting. He's the most degenerate of all my degenerate gambling friends. So we'll get into that and much, much more tomorrow on episode 7. This has been episode 6 of Ramie and Drew, and we will talk to you next time.
Awesome.